So nice how it announces it now. I can't do it secretly. Okay. I think about a few weeks back, I did a talk on centering, finding your center. And something that comes up a lot with patients that, people have a really hard time keeping still. Any of you have that problem? You have to be busy, busy, busy. And if I'm doing an acupuncture treatment, you got to be still 30, 40, 50 minutes. It really depends on the situation. But I mean, they could be lying there pretty long and they have to be still because, I put those nails in. So they don't want to move. But so many people, and this is the thing I want to ask. Well, you don't really have to respond. I just want you to think about when I ask, do you know how to breathe? So when a student comes to the Blue Dragon, one of the first things they learn is breathing exercises. Now, breathing exercises, and I'll name them quickly. We have cleansing, filling, and usually holding, but there's prescription breaths and it changes depending on the person as well. But the cleansing breath, these breaths are developmental. And what I mean by developmental is there's breaths that are just playing around with the timing of your breathing, turning something involuntary into voluntary. And you may do something like a triangle where you inhale, exhale, hold. Inhale, exhale, hold. Or square. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. So breathing like that is it's learning to control the breathing, but it's also, it's taking something that's involuntary, making it voluntary, but we don't realize how our thinking and our emotions affect how we breathe. So it can shift you from stressed to calmer. Years ago, I discovered a program that was brought to military and police, and it has to do with getting somebody out of fight or flight. Because fight or flight is not just fight for your life, run for your life. There's also freezing. So 3 F's: fight, flight, or freeze. And freezing is like the deer in headlights. It's like you hear a big boom and you just freeze. You don't know what to do. And the time it takes you to figure out what's going on could get you killed. That's concept, right? Or knowing that you're in a shootout and that your life is on the line right now in this moment, and people literally lose control of, if you can imagine, things. So breathing is one of the ways that a particular, we'll just call them their coach, okay, how to control the mind under duress. And he taught them something like a square breath, right? So let's say 4 seconds, a count of 4 inhale, a count of 4 hold, a count of 4 exhale, a count of 4 hold. And what that does is it gets your mind to control your body's physiology. If your subconscious and your fear and the stress of the moment is controlling your physiology, it may not serve you. It may get you killed. You don't have any of your ability to respond appropriately or effectively. And so the breathing helps them. So now you think about that. That's somebody under a life or death situation. And it helps dramatically. So what's your situation, right? Most people are not fighting and running for their life regularly, but you're still living in fight or flight. Why is that? How you think and your emotional response to it. But also, and a lot of people don't realize this, it's how you breathe. So one of the things with acupuncture and Chinese medicine is I have to be very observant. In many, many years of teaching students, it's the same. I try to catch your character best I can, right? Because, yeah, in the beginning, there's what I'll call more of a cookie cutter fundamentals, foundation. But eventually, and sometimes it's because a student came to my office or something and asked a particular question, but what does this person need? So with a patient, many times they literally need to breathe better. So I can do acupuncture, I can do herbs, and it helps. But if I can cover a couple of extra things, like can I teach them to control their breathing, their mind? Maybe they need some movement in order to, or body mechanic correction, how they move is causing a problem, right? What does this person need? This is a prescription. And a lot of times it's breathing. So a lot of people breathe this way all day long. They're basically shrugging their shoulders all day long. This area here gets very tight. Anybody have that problem? Everybody has that. Usually everybody has that problem. And then that goes the muscles right up into the back of your neck. So some people get more serious. They end up with headaches. But a lot of people, just the fact that this is moving, all this, we'll call it energy, is rising. And I like to think of it like a fire rising, right? And what it's doing is your normal way, your breathing, is making you more stressed. Is a breathing consistent with fight or flight? So you're not fighting for your life, you're not running for your life, and yet you're acting like you are because of the emotions of life. So you think about that. What can you do? The breath is the bridge between the mind and the body. So just slowing the breath, controlling the breath, before you even deal with your situation, can change everything. Instead of a knee-jerk emotional response to things, this goes back to that other talk. You center yourself first. How do you center yourself first? Use your breathing. So cleansing breath, to remind you, those who don't know, right? The way it was always taught, the way I learned, is you inhale through the nose and you exhale through a pinhole in the mouth. And the idea is, if you had a water balloon and there was an air bubble, the water representing what you want, we'll say good chi, and the air bubble representing chemicals, toxins, things your body needs to clear out. If you try to push it out quickly, it's all going to mix together. So that doesn't really, it's not efficient. We're trying to slowly, see, let the air bubble come up and slowly clear it slowly. All you have in the balloon now is the water, which is what you want, and the pollution's gone. So, and now think about somebody who works around chemicals, somebody who smokes, okay? This is especially one that can be done. The average person maybe 10 times. Somebody who's around chemicals, breathing in bad stuff, smoking, 20 times, even 30 times. You practice more, trying to get the body to clear these poisons, and you're clearing the poisons through the mouth. So you inhale through the nose and you breathe like you're filling your torso more than your lungs, okay? Like you make your torso big, and then you pinhole. Exhale, at least 50% longer than inhale. So automatically you're starting to control your ability to breathe for a purpose. The second fundamental breath is a filling breath, and it's exactly the same except you breathe only through your nose. And the focus when you're filling your torso is to create a little bit more stretch. You're literally trying to increase your vital capacity. So in the lungs, there's all these alveoli. It looks like grapes if you look at a picture. And you want that all to open up and spread to create more surface area. Then automatically your respiration is much better, much easier. The person who's breathing here is only using the top smallest part of the lungs. So not only is it creating tension, like physical tension, it's also stressing your body out because it's a very inefficient and ineffective breathing. It's the kind of breathing you do when you're stressed naturally. And so with training, you can take away what comes natural, like that's kind of breathing, to drop it. And that's why I want to talk about what I do with a lot of patients. Patients lying on the table, okay? And you don't have to be lying down, but it can be easier lying down. I'll take my finger, say, where's your belly button, right? Okay, now I go a little below. That's known as the dantian area. I put a little pressure with the finger. Now, why do I do that? That little pressure with the finger, like I'm actually pushing into the lower abdomen there, so that they remember that feeling. I say, breathe in and try to push my finger away with your inhale, as if you're breathing down into your abdomen, low into your abdomen. So to put the pressure there. What can you do? If you were sitting there, I would say take your fingers and come back about 1.5 inches below your belly button. Press into that area. And when you breathe, try to push it out. Putting this pressure makes it very clear and very obvious. And also when you take your hand away, it leaves sort of a print, a feeling there of where those fingers were. And so then I leave them. It's just in through the nose and all the way down to the belly. There's a good way or another way you can practice lying in bed. You can put a book or something on your lower belly, below your belly button. If it's a book, you might actually have it some on the belly button, but below it is where you want to expand. You want it to come out because higher is still creating tension. Lower, what's the benefit? Think about it. Those of you who've practiced some breathing, think about it. When you breathe down into your belly, your lungs, and this is the most capacity. Some of say 5-6 times as much volume when you get to the bottom of your lungs. 5 or 6 times. That means what the heck are people doing when they're breathing up here? You breathe too many times. You're in constant yin and yang imbalance, and that is a toxic body. A toxic body is stressed. So how comfortable can you feel? Think of someone who smokes, because I'll teach what I just taught to someone who smokes. Okay, so the nicotine, you take the cigarette and it expands the vessels so you feel relaxed. You're oxygenating, actually, in spite of the poisons of the smoke. You're expanding so you feel good. And then what happens when your nicotine wears off? It contracts more than normal. then you get irritable, right? If you've ever experienced addiction to smoking or know someone who has, they're about ready to bite someone's head off. It's kind of like it with food when you have a sugar addiction or a carbohydrate, your main source of your calories is carbohydrates. They burn off very quickly and you feel irritable and hungry and you can't function. Whereas for many years, my main calories come from fats. And if I feel like fasting all day, it's no problem. I don't have any problem with my energy or anything. So that tells me how that fat can burn nice and smooth all the way through the day. I don't get that big drop, that big sugar drop. So you think about that. It's over closing, right? So then they need a cigarette. Open. And then it wears off. Closes. You feel like crap again. Good balanced breathing will get that where it's supposed to be. It will open the vessels naturally, and your respiration will be far greater, far greater. And when it's far greater, toxins naturally can clear. You don't get irritable. You stay more clear-minded. You're oxygenated because when the vessels relax is the only way you can absorb oxygen. And you have less stress. Completely changes everything. What's that worth? See, most people are living in a low-level fight or flight. It's not an emergency, but you have this anxiousness, this angst. And that angst is going to contribute to stress hormones going up in the body. It's going to make you tired because you're going to spend a lot of energy dealing with that. And you're not going to be very efficiently living in life. And when you're stressed, your digestion doesn't work very well. If your body feels like it's in somewhat of an emergency all the time, I mean, imagine living in a place where there's bombings. Your body's not worrying about resting and digesting. There's no resting and digesting. There's no rebuilding tissue or anything because it doesn't know if you're going to survive. It's more like, do I have to run for my life at any moment? Think about that. The digestive juices, the acids in the stomach, they don't work when you're stressed. So that's why early on with a patient, push that finger, try to get them to remember that. In through the nose, also out through the nose, but in through the nose, move the belly, not the chest. In through the nose, move the belly, not the chest. Now, don't forget the components of meditation. Comfortable position, quiet environment, passive attitude, focal point. The breath makes a beautiful focal point. So even though I'm teaching breathing, I'm teaching meditation. Because if a person can breathe through the nose and move the belly and keep doing that and try to lengthen the exhale more than the inhale, the mind is going to drop to a more relaxed state. It's going to get out of the busyness of beta and it's going to move down at least into alpha. And if you're even better, it can go to theta. It can go deeper where you're more positive, more creative, healing qualities come out. Try doing that if you have trouble sleeping, for example. Just work on your breathing and allow yourself to slip into meditation and maybe you'll become sleepy. But it creates a much more peaceful sense, peaceful feeling. Now think about your 24 hours a day, you get whatever amount of sleep, ideally 8 hours, but a lot of people don't, 5 or 6. Some feel lucky when they get that, and it's not enough. So your body's under stress a lot. You learn to practice that breathing anytime, anywhere, not just when you're lying in bed or sitting in meditation. online at the bank, in the grocery store, wherever. You can inhale through the nose and bring it down to the belly. And so what happens, you start to create a new physiology. A new physiology that's calmer, more centered, and more relaxed, with a more focused mind. You're actually beginning to live more in a meditation rather than just when you formally sit and meditate for your 5 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is. Even if you're meditating 30 minutes twice a day, and that's pretty awesome. What about all the other hours that you're up and maybe uptight? What you do the most is what your body actually experiences and learns the most. It's just like, what's your average diet? You can eat good one day and bad 6 days, or you can eat good 6 days and maybe bad one day, or one bad meal. If you're getting all the right stuff, your body's going to be nourished, and the bad meal is just going to be, looked at as basically toxins, and your body's just going to deal with it. But if you're not getting food any other way, then your body's going to take in those toxins, and it's going to poison you over time, creating problems that you don't even realize. Breathing and eating, only 2 ways we get energy. It's the only way we can function in this world. How good is your eating? Nutrients, how much you're getting. How good is your breathing? How efficient, how effective, and is it creating a habit in your physiology? So if you were to actually do that 30 minutes twice a day, what starts to happen is that feeling carries over. And as that feeling carries over, and then you're dealing with the stress that's around you, because you don't really stop the world around you. It's going to do what it's going to do. And then your threshold becomes higher. What does that mean? For you to get into fight or flight takes a lot longer. Plus, you're more sensitive. If you're more sensitive, you can very quickly get back down. You feel yourself getting riled up. You feel yourself getting stressed. You're feeling anxious. Because of the habit, it becomes second nature to breathe. Breathe and be calm. So going back, we teach breathing exercises to both increase the vital capacity, like stretching, like you're stretching your legs or something, you're stretching your lungs. You're increasing vital capacity, but you're also learning to control your breathing. The belly breathing is a straight up way to calm down anytime, anywhere, and make it more how you breathe normally. So if you start catching yourself, you're aware that you're breathing through your chest, bring it down to the belly. As you practice regularly, what came to my mind. So I'd be walking down the Jersey Shore when I was learning this stuff early on. I'm walking on the boardwalk, practicing. That's what I mean by you can practice anywhere. And I remember I practiced so much that my belly was cramping up on me, muscle cramping. So it's a funny thing, you can make it something that you commit to until you don't even have to think about it. It's just the way you breathe. But so many people, when I'm talking to them or noticing this, it's all here. So remember, there's deep breathing and there's big breathing. Deep doesn't have to be big. Cleansing and filling, especially filling, is big, stretching. But deep can actually be very small, where you don't even see much movement at all. In fact, that's the breathing that happens when you're in meditation. If you're really in meditation, you can look like you're not even breathing. The breathing gets very small, but it's also deep. Deep meaning literally deep into the lungs, which pushes down the diaphragm and moves the belly. This is more natural. This is also known as back to baby breathing. How did you get air when you were in your mama's belly? Through the umbilical, right? That's how your body was given blood flow and oxygen. So one of my teacher's theories was when the baby comes out and the doctor spanks them, right away the breathing goes up here. Spank the baby trying to get it to cry. But really, you think about not a peaceful environment in the home. Maybe people yelling, maybe dogs barking. The baby's brand new, it doesn't know anything. These things are startling. So it literally creates this, what's that? What's that? So a combination of the people around you, how they respond to things, to also you not knowing the things around you and how to respond. You're scared a little bit. And so your breathing came up. And most people never go back down. So that's why back to childbirth. When you were a baby, when we were all babies, we had the greatest blood flow we'll ever have in our lives. You think about it, the baby has to lift its head first, it eventually rolls, it crawls, and eventually gets up on its feet and falls down. And it's been said thousands of times, right? Thousands of times. Rarely is the baby hurt falling down because there's such good blood flow. Such good blood flow, it would heal very quickly. But as we get older, we don't heal so well. Maybe some of you even bump your leg or something on a table and you get this big bruise. Well, why is that? It's the blood flow, not good blood flow. If you breathe, if you make this habit to breathe deeper into the body, allowing the lungs to expand naturally down and the belly moves, you will increase blood flow through your whole body. Your vessels will open and oxygen and carbon dioxide will naturally exchange in much greater amounts. Now you're going to feel relaxed. But you'll also have more energy, more clarity. Your body will be able to replace cells as needed. You're going to have less problems with cold hands and feet that will probably warm right up and clear. It's primarily breathing that causes that problem. You don't realize your anxieties, your worries, what's going on in your mind is creating an inner tension, a deep tension that is completely affecting your breathing, which is then completely affecting your circulation. And this is the furthest place, right? Your hands and your feet. So that's where people end up with problems in the hands and the feet and a lot of arthritic issues. Why? Oxygen doesn't reach there, nutrients don't reach there, and the garbage doesn't get taken out. See, blood flow, your body takes out the waste. It accumulates there and it becomes inflamed, and then you have problems. Over many years, that kind of habit. So how valuable is this information for you then? You might literally be able to eliminate something like RA, rheumatoid arthritis, or just general osteoarthritis, just because you're breathing properly. Because your hands and your feet, your extremities stay nice and warm. Why do they stay nice and warm? Good blood flow, all the way to the microscopic capillaries, expanding in every cell, getting the oxygen it needs. I mean, if you were sitting in a room without enough air, without enough oxygen, how would you feel? Imagine that for a minute. Like the person who was primarily sugar, carbohydrate, pastas, breads, all those kind of things. That's primarily what they eat. Sodas, I mean, a lot worse, right? That's what they live on. 70, 80% of their calories coming from sugar. They get this sugar rush and they get the sugar crash. They feel terrible. Imagine that feeling. Maybe you've had that feeling. lack of oxygen in the room. What's that feel like? It's not a good feeling. Lack of oxygen just for a few minutes, you can die. Think about that. You go a long time without food, but it's a very not a good feeling. Hunger. Now, imagine you're one cell in your body. One cell not getting the oxygen it needs. One cell not getting the nutrients it needs. One cell living in its own waste. Would you like to live in your own waste? Think about how you would feel. So now that's how your cells feel on an individual basis. And when you look at a community, this is the groups of cells, a community of cells. Same thing. If they can't bring the food, there's no food on the shelves in the supermarket and people are starving. The air is unbreathable. Nobody's picking up the garbage. What kind of diseases would come? This is what's happening in our bodies. And you literally can correct a lot of that just by breathing properly. Just by breathing properly. Oxygen reaches where it needs to go, every cell. Nutrients from the food reaches every cell. Whatever you're eating. Better food, better nutrients, of course. Many times I'll tell people you can't build a house with cardboard. So you need the right stuff, but the blood flow will bring it there. So you're getting the oxygen, you're getting the nutrients, and of course the garbage men come and clear out all the garbage, all the trash, so things can stay clean. And that can be your shoulder, that can be your brain, that can be your heart, that can be your liver, your knee, wherever. Think of places that you have problems or somebody has problems. That's a big part of it. And that leads me to number 2 a little bit. If your breathing's good, but what else needs to be good? This is where what else can help your circulation is what I'm saying, and that's where movement comes in. Qigong is slow movement. Kung Fu or other vigorous exercises is the fast movement, right? I mean, you can cycle, you can dance, a lot of different things we can do. A lot of people do that kind of exercise, but they don't do the slow stuff, right? They do the fast, but not the slow. The fast, great for circulation, great for strengthening, break down, build up, but not so much relaxation. That's why Qigong is so powerful. Because what's the component of Qigong? Breathing. You learn to breathe with movement. And then what moves determines where the most blood flow goes. So it gives you more control where you need blood flow. It could be your knee, some squatting down, right? The knee has to bend. It could be your liver. How do I move my liver? If you raise your right arm, that whole area in front of your liver gets stretched out. It's going to massage it. You just raise and lower. Already, you're going to pump the liver some. It's going to get some massage. You breathe properly, the diaphragm pushes down. All the organs get compressed and relaxed and compressed and relaxed. So your breathing helps move to the liver and other organs. So these are all the basic natural principles of how the human body stays healthy, strong, and also relaxed. Relaxed meaning without being relaxed, not so healthy and strong, because you get all this extra tension. If you don't know how to relax, you're aging faster. You're going to feel more irritable. There's going to be a lot of tension, so you're not going to have good circulation. And if you don't have good circulation, everything's breaking down. It's just a matter of where. That's why a lot of people have trouble with the extremities, because it's further away. So last couple of minutes, I want to see if you have any questions on this material, on what I was talking about. Specifically breathing, but also oxygenating the body, blood flow, good circulation. Any questions? Yes, sir. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Sifu. So if I'm walking or hiking or just sitting, am I breathing at the very bottom and expanding as I go up, or am I strictly just filling the belly and that's it?
Okay, so that's the difference between smaller and bigger breathing. If you're meditating, it's small. There's not a lot going on there. You're just minimal, right? If you're looking to stretch, then it's pretty natural. The air comes in this way, goes through, and it just fills, you can feel the torso. But that's more like lung exercise versus meditation. If I'm just sitting, I may just watch the breath, not control the breath. I may control the breath to help me get into just watching it, to help me get into just being.
But what if you're sitting, reading a book or watching TV? How should you be breathing? Strictly through the belly, or you
Yes.
actually? Okay.
Good question. Okay, so you're going to breathe how you breathe now, whatever it is. If you practice, you'll breathe just to the belly, kind of like meditation. You can make, just like you can make involuntary voluntary, with enough practice, what you're practicing, controlling your breathing, can become involuntary, meaning natural for you.
But if you're only breathing in the belly, doesn't the middle and upper part of the lungs ever get any expansion practice? Or don't you get a bad habit where that starts to atrophy?
Okay. Interesting question. That's why we have the exercises to expand the lungs, right? Actual exercises to expand the lungs. But you cannot get air to your belly without going through your lungs, all of it.
Okay.
It doesn't go from the bottom up unless you're breathing through your ass. You're breathing this way, the air is going to come down.
I just thought maybe you're making a conscious effort to expand everything up and down, but that's just basically, that's purposeful breathing then, is what you're saying, as opposed to
Correct.
just natural breathing.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You want the belly breathing to become natural so that you live more like meditation. The busier your mind gets, the more you're going to need breathing too, because the brain uses energy. So that you're going to need more again. That's why in meditation, you just be, right? You're just there. It's just your awareness. So your breathing's minimal. You're not spending any energy. But if you're thinking and if you're watching something, it's emotional, everything, you're involved with that. You know, our brains can't tell the difference between what you're seeing on TV or what's vividly imagined and what's real. So be very careful about what you're exposing yourself to in the fake world, fiction world, TV world, news, movies, whatever. Be very careful about that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Other question. Another. Yes, sir. How do I remove all pins? Boom, boom. And boom, boom. Mr. Antomate.
Yes, sir. What would you recommend for somebody who's overweight, and as far as trying to calibrate their breath, does the factor of being overweight inhibit that entirely, or no?
Not really. Not really. Better circulation is going to enhance metabolism. Being overweight also creates constriction mechanically by pressure on the vessels. So breathing can be more difficult depending how much overweight they are. But can you elaborate? What are you referring to? Somebody you know is breathing poorly?
Yeah.
Because, okay, being overweight is usually consistent with being very unhealthy. The insides are a mess too. So you watch me for a second. You'll see people breathe like this. Notice even through the mouth, right? Very unhealthy people breathe like that. They breathe frequently. They breathe in the chest and even the clavicle and through the mouth. And if you're out and it's quiet, or you're even with family and it's quiet, listen, you can tell who's healthy and who's not just by the breathing. It's not
Yeah.
just overweight.
So, well, I'm referring to my dad, and he's a bit overweight. He's a mouth breather, and
What?
he breathes through his mouth generally.
Yep.
And so I recall a couple sessions ago, you mentioned that if you can hear someone breathing, it's a sign that they're unhealthy. So he breathes very loudly.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the years, he goes to the doctor, and I always recall him saying, "Oh, the doctor said that I'm good, that I'm healthy," but he is overweight. So obviously, I don't know if that's a bit of delusional, being delusional, or if that's just, I don't know. But just in reference to the breathing, I'm just wondering if he'll be able to achieve that level of efficacy with the breathing, despite being overweight, or
Yeah, overweight by itself is not a health issue. And that may seem contradictory to what you've heard, but simply being overweight is not. You can be healthy overweight. Okay. In a toxic world, having extra fat on your body actually is one way your body can protect itself. Instead of putting poisons into the joints or your brain, it'll put it into the fats. You go back 120, 130 years, you go back to the turn of the 19th century, 18th to the 19th century, being underweight, being thin, like people think today is healthy, you may not make it through the winter. So weight is not by itself unhealthy. That breathing doesn't sound good though. And I will tell you this, Eastern and Western medicine have a very different perspective on health. And one of the things I've become very good at is taking a pulse and feeling any organs, but let me focus for a second on the heart. Probably 2/3 of pulses I feel, heart pulses I feel, have problems, and that's any age. I'm not saying they're having a problem that they're going to die right away, but that I can feel, and I will send them to a cardiologist because that's an emergency. And I had a woman who already had a stress test where they went to the cardiologist. Cardiologist said she was fine, and I'd tell you, I was worried within 2 weeks she would have a heart attack. But what I do works, and she's out of the woods and doing phenomenal. Lost 28 pounds, everything. It was just amazing, complete change. She used to get stressed and upset and have chest pain going down her arm. I mean, that's how bad it was. Lose her breath, feel like faint. And within a month, none of that, all of it's gone. Unbelievable changes because she was completely serious about it. And people in her family only live to their 50s. And she was already in her 50s. But she has 5 children and she wants to be there for them. So she took it 100% serious and she's gotten amazing results. She's like the champion patient right now. But when I felt her pulse, I recognized that this was dangerous. And it was amazing that she already passed her cardiologist. You know how many cardiologists, you know how many people had stress tests and got a clean bill of health and then died within a week of a heart attack? You got to think about this for a second, logically. Why were they at the cardiologist? They already had signs that were serious. Heart disease is not a light switch. But unless there's chest pain and basically a heart attack and you're 80, 90% blocked, they tell you you're fine in most cases. but it's more like a dimmer switch. And the Chinese have known this for thousands of years. And they will tell you, they have symptoms like fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, depression. The depression, fatigue really go together because you just feel lousy because the emperor is your heart. It's pumping and it's not strong. It's inefficient. It's ineffective. And the first place it affects is the brain. So you're going to be more emotional. That's why so much anxiety. And it gets palpitations can come. Again, you're getting palpitations. You go to the cardiologist. Cardiologist sends you home, says you're fine. Why are you getting palpitations? We're going to think about this a little better. So if it's a dimmer switch, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, all of them will be sent home fine. Waiting until they have a freaking heart attack, huh? They need open heart surgery? Yeah, I've seen amazing results with the Chinese herbs, I'll tell you. They get on the herbs and it actually opens the vessels, similar to what I'm saying with breathing and even movement. It opens the vessels, it relaxes the muscle of the heart, it increases the capacity of the heart and starts to pump better, and all these symptoms clear. And the pulse changes, and I can feel it's not blocked anymore. So I'm doing this a very long time, so I'm confident in saying what I'm saying is real and it's true. And I'll tell you, that patient right now will swear to it too, because she knows how she was responding to stress. She could have had a heart attack anytime, next time she argues with one of her children or something. Not anymore. And she's got energy to spare now. Unbelievable. What a turn. We're going to put her on the wall, I think, as a champion. Because I remember the first time I was feeling and I was going to come up with the herbs. I wanted to go into the herb room myself and make sure she had the best, freshest herb, make sure exactly, because I needed to open things up and make sure within the beginning time, something bad didn't happen. That's how I knew. It's the worst one I felt. And she's out of the woods. She don't have that pulse anymore. And everything else goes right along with it. She's got to buy new clothes now because she lost 28 pounds in a month. Beginning weight loss, a lot of times it's a lot of water weight loss. So it's easy to lose a lot in the beginning. But 8 to 10 pounds a month is what's normally healthy, but she's just so strict. She lost that water and then she lost the regular weight. And it's amazing. So when you ask a question about somebody overweight, it's the breathing I'd be more concerned with than the weight. But sure, losing weight, and you're just telling me overweight. I have no idea how much overweight. Because the weight also squeezes down on the vessels and creates literally blood pressure, high blood pressure, because there's pressure on the pipes, right? There's pressure squeezing down on the pipes. So when your heart pumps, it's increasing the pressure on the vessels. So you lose weight, you don't have that problem, right? So you're making your heart work harder. There's a lot of things. It depends how much, it depends why they're overweight. But that's a clear indicator to me, yes, how you describe the breathing. Now, will breathing help that person? Absolutely. There's no reason why they can't. They do the breathing. You can even show them cleansing and filling and just get them with a slow exhale, teaching them how to relax more, and they will feel better pretty quickly. The other things, diet, exercise, sleep, right? They need, if they want to get healthy. But every individual only can choose for themselves. Because I'll tell you, my greatest challenge, and one of the reasons why I am what I am, like fanatical in my life, was because of how I watched my father. My father was one of those people who ate junk food all the time. He drank and he was overweight and all the things you're just saying right there. And he actually would say things to me like, I'd rather die than go through what you go to eat. I'd cut my food fresh and everything and make the best stuff. And he didn't even realize it was observing him. He used to have a shelf full of vitamins and all that stuff, right? As I was growing up. And then later it was a shelf full of pharmaceuticals. Average person in their 60s is on about a dozen meds or more. So he fit right into that. And he went down horribly in the last 4 years. It's a horrible thing to experience and a horrible thing to remember. But that's exactly why I do what I do. I wanted to know answers. It's just my nature. And all these answers go back to natural principles, natural laws. You want to know what diet we should be eating? I don't care what anybody says. We're hunter-gatherers. Maybe we're fishermen and gatherers, but we're that, so anything outside of that is not natural for the human body, no matter how smart the person is that thinks they know nutrition. Simple litmus tests. What's natural? How did our physiology develop? We're supposed to sleep with the clock of the natural clock, the sunrise and sunset, right? We're supposed to sleep deeply in the middle of the night and rise with the sun. So anything against that is against natural laws. Our breathing is supposed to be down into the belly. We're supposed to go to the bathroom in a squatted position. This is just natural laws. This is Tao, and the further from Tao, the more problems you're going to have. We're not supposed to be constantly thinking. We're not supposed to be under lights in the middle of the night. Okay? I shouldn't be able to talk to you from Tennessee to New Jersey. There's a lot of advantages, obviously, to our advancements, I guess, technological advancements, but there's a lot of negatives too. And if we recognize the natural laws and we live our lives as close to Tao as possible, I mean, real quick, we're really out of time, but Mr. Avila has mentioned becoming aware of bird calls. This is one of the most amazing things to have experience in. To actually tune into the natural world at that level is phenomenal. So you think about that. We have these instincts for nature, but we remove ourselves from it. The closer you get into the natural world and understand the natural world, the more you'll also have an intuition develop of what's best for the human body, what's best for the mind. We're not supposed to go, burn the oil, burn the candle from both ends and all that stuff, running on fumes. This is completely unhealthy. And most people are living basically like sleepwalking through life, zombies. I don't know how else to say it. They don't realize that all the things they're doing is working against them. And that's why they feel so bad, why they go to a doctor and get a pill to try to hide a symptom, rather than actually live in accordance with Tao, in accordance with nature, and what's best for the body. So you can live healthy, productive, optimistic, clear-minded. We don't need to age like this. We just gradual decline because we can't beat Father Time. So that said, let's go to meditation.